The following program is an original MCM production for Community Channel 14.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
Hello, I'm Mary Dowell, your co-host with Martha Love, producer and host, and welcome and thank you for joining us to What's Going On. Today we're going to be talking about leadership through education, focusing on the Milwaukee Urban League and their educational programs. So let's start with introducing our guests for today, starting with Ralph Holman.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Ralph Holman, President and CEO of the Milwaukee Urban League.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Armstrong, Human Resources Analyst with the City of Milwaukee Police Department.
Thank you for joining us, Vanessa.
Thank you.
I'm Greg Fanning, Assistant Director, Education and Training with the Milwaukee Urban League.
Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, today we're going to be focusing on the Milwaukee Urban League, and I know that there are many educational programs focusing on our youth. We're very passionate about that, and I don't know that the community know how much focus there is on education. So let's start. I want to say, first of all, Ralph has been the president and CEO for 13 years.
13 years.
That's correct. And Greg, you've been with the league for over 20 years yourself, correct?
Absolutely.
Right. So we have people who are very dedicated to the league and what's happening in our community. So I want to start with you, Ralph, to just give us a brief overview of the league and some of the things that are happening, and then we're going to focus in on some of the educational programs for our youth.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mary. Let me begin by saying that the Milwaukee Urban League is an affiliate of the National Urban League, and the National Urban League was founded in 1910 in New York City, when millions and millions of African Americans were moving from the rural South to urban cities in the North. And as people were making this transition, they encountered any number of problems: housing problems, education, employment, discrimination, etc., etc. And the Urban League was founded to assist with these issues and with these problems. And there are about 100 urban leagues around the country, mostly in major cities: Detroit, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, etc., etc. Interestingly enough, our Milwaukee Urban League was founded in 1919, so we're one of the oldest urban league cities in the nation. And as you look at the urban leagues around the country, and including in Milwaukee, you find that we will focus on education, employment, economic development, housing, healthcare. We really want to focus on those areas that have the largest impact on a person's quality of life.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ralph. So when we talk about the league, I know there are several programs that's focusing on our youth and education. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those programs? I know today we're going to be focusing on one in particular, but there are several. Could you just give us a highlight? And then we'll talk to Greg about some of those programs.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just say that because we are the Urban League, we get involved in any number of issues, problems that impact on our total community. Mm-hmm. But we have to focus. When you have limited resources, you have to focus those resources. So our programs are focused on education, employment, and economic development. Again, because we feel those three areas have a significant impact on a person's quality of life. And when we look at education, one of the focuses, and Greg is going to talk about this a little bit more, is we really want to encourage and motivate our young people to understand the value and the importance of getting a good education, completing high school, and then going on to college or some kind of post-secondary training. And Mary, I don't have to tell you that we are in a very competitive global society now, and just having a high school diploma is not enough to be competitive. And the other priority is employment. we really want to work hard to try and help people prepare for and find a job that pays a livable wage. That is so important, especially when you look at the high levels of unemployment in the African American community, especially with our African American males. And then in terms of economic development, we work with the other minority chambers of commerce. We really want to strengthen and increase the number of our small businesses, because we feel that small businesses can really help to stabilize neighborhoods. You know, they generate wealth and they create jobs, and most small businesses hire people that live right in their respective neighborhoods.
Right. And so how is that trending from your perspective?
Well, you know, it ebbs and flows. And let me just be very candid for a second. And when I talk about economic development, we really want to see an increase in the number of minority businesses that we have. If you look at some of the national studies, when Milwaukee is compared to similar sized or comparable sized cities, we are at the bottom or near the bottom in terms of minority business ownership. So we really have to work hard to increase the number of businesses, viable businesses that exist in our community. So that's one of the trends that we're working to improve.
Right. And of course, in order to do that, we know that education is key and critical for our youth as they become adults to help affect positive economic change.
Absolutely, and you're right on target. Everything goes back to education. No matter what you do in life, you have to have a very solid educational foundation. And that is one of the reasons we work so hard to get our young people, their parents, and our total community to understand the importance of education. Because you cannot do anything in our complex society today without having a good, solid educational foundation.
Right. You know, I'm really proud to say that, Ralph, you know, many years ago I was on the board for the Milwaukee Urban League, and very proud to have been a member. But with seeing issues then, and the work that the league was doing to try to help create balance in our communities, and you know, while the league is a beacon for that, we know that we still have lots and lots of problems, and your resources with the league, I know you do what you can, but I don't even know how many people know the beacon that the league is in this community.
Well, it's very interesting that you say that, Mary, because this year the Milwaukee Urban League is 96 years old.
Wow, 96.
And when I'm out in the community, I usually get two responses. One response is, "Oh, Ralph, you over at the Urban League? The Urban League helped me get my first job," or "The Urban League did this for my family." But then the other reaction that I get is, "Urban League, never heard of it. What do you guys do?" So, you know, we have a constant challenge to get people to understand, you know, not only what we do and the positive impact, you know, that we have on our community. And that's a constant ongoing challenge that we're working on every day.
Right. Thank you. So some of the programs, the major programs you have, like the National Achiever Society, College Prep, Doing the Right Thing, Digital Connections Program, these are all programs focusing, most of them, for the youth, right?
Absolutely.
The Digital Connections, tell me a little bit about that.
I can tell you a little bit about that, and I'm going to kind of segue to Greg, who
Okay.
can talk about it in a little more detail.
Okay.
The Digital Connectors program was part of an initiative that came from the National Urban League. People have heard everyone talk about the digital divide, meaning that many people in our community, African American and minority communities, are not up to speed with technology. You know, they don't have access to technology. So the Urban League wanted to do something about that. So the Digital Connectors program was designed to help get our young people involved in technology, you get them to learn and know about technology, but then the key thing was then for these young people to come back and share that information, share that knowledge with others in the community. And it was a tremendous program.
Good. So that's a nice segue to Greg. Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about the programming and training that that you have been involved with for, say, over 20 years at the league, and just give us some highlights of those, some of the things, some of the programs that I mentioned.
Okay, thank you. Well, for one thing, College Prep. College Prep is a partnering model type program in that we partner with MPS schools and other organizations to present college materials to students so that they can be better prepared as they make the transition from high school to college. And that's one of the things that is so important, because a lot of times students, they're just not ready, and even when they think they're ready, they're not ready. So we go in and we talk to them, and we share information with them to help prepare them so that when the time comes for them to make that next step, and as Mr. Holman said, we know that everybody's not going to go to a 4-year college. We understand that. But we need to have deeply embedded in their mindset that I got to do something after I graduate from high school. So whether that's an apprenticeship, whether that's a 2-year college for an associate degree, a 1-year program, you need to do something to further your education so that you'll be better prepared for some of these jobs that are coming up and that are available to those who are trained. If you're not trained, you will be left to the side.
Right.
And it's very difficult to place individuals when they don't have that educational background that Mr. Holman was talking about. So the College Prep program, as I was saying, one of the key components that we have in the College Prep program is called Project Ready 2.0. And that was part of it utilizes the National Urban League's curriculum for preparing students. And with the College Prep 2.0, we work with a cohort of students from different schools, and we give them information about how to get ready. And this is from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior year. Now, that's one leg of it. The other leg is when we go to different schools and we share certain classroom topic information, such as how do you fill out the application, the college application? Mm-hmm. How do you complete your essays? Where are the scholarships? Where is the free money? Because there's free money and then there's loans. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming more and more challenging to even get loans now, because they're changing the requirements. And so students need to know this information, that it's not going to be like it was before. So scholarships and grants, if you prepare yourself, they are available. We have a listing of scholarships and grants that are on our website. It's not a total universal listing, but it is a starting point. And students need to know, where can I find this money? How do I get prepared for these challenges that are ahead of me?
You know, Greg, that is so very interesting that you say that. It's not the way it used to be.
It's not going to be.
We have more students, children, youth who want to go to college, but the resources are not the way they were in past. So how does the league go into these schools, and is it a program, part of the curriculum, that they can go in and be part of that curriculum to prepare these children for school? How do we get the word out?
What we do is we contact the teachers or the administration. They allow us to come into the classroom and do our presentations. It is designed to complement what the counselors already are doing. Counselors do a great job, but there are so many students compared to the counselors in terms of ratio of students. And so we try to complement some of the things that the counselors are already doing in the schools. And so one of the things that we try and do is get the students to know, first of all, you need to be talking to someone. You need to be talking to your counselors, your teachers, to find out what it is that you need to do in order to move to the next level. One of the things that is so important and key is that students develop a plan for the future, because a lot of times students are floating through, or they're doing what they were asked to do in terms of attendance, but they don't really have a plan. And when you don't have a plan, you just kind of drift.
Okay, that is very good. So now I want to talk some more about that prep piece, but we're going to take a break. And we'll be back to talk more about with the Milwaukee Urban League here on What's Going On.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nicole Malachowski, a U.S. Air Force Fighter Squadron Commander and the first woman pilot with the United States Air Force Aerial Demonstration Team. My fellow airmen and I know that each of us plays a huge part in our victories, whether in the air or on the ground. We couldn't accomplish our mission without using everyone's skills to reach our goals. Embracing our differences and working together is also what has made America strong. Thank you for your support, and remember, our strength lies in our diversity. This message brought to you by the United States Air Force.
Being a gold medalist skier requires a lot of hard work, intense training, and time outside on the mountain. But taking care of my skin is easy and doesn't affect my performance. Every day I apply sunscreen and wear protective gear. I know protecting my skin will help prevent skin cancer and avoid wrinkles. I get my skin checked regularly by a dermatologist. 1 in 5 Americans will develop some form of skin cancer in their lifetime. My name is Julia Mancuso, and I'm wearing orange to help put a spotlight on skin cancer.
Hello, I'm Mary Dowell, your host for today. Martha Love, producer and host of What's Going On. Today we're featuring the Milwaukee Urban League. So let's go back and introduce Ralph.
I'm
our
Ralph
guest.
Holman, President and CEO of the Milwaukee Urban League.
I'm Vanessa Armstrong. I was previously involved with some of the Urban League programs. I'm currently working for the City of Milwaukee Police Department.
Can't wait to talk to you.
And I'm Greg Fanning. I'm the Assistant Director of Education and Training at the Milwaukee Urban League.
Thank you. So we were in a good conversation before the break about prep and how, Greg, you were explaining how we go into the schools and try to get students prepared, make them aware, first of all, of things that they need to do. They should be working with their counselors and have a focus on higher education, doing something after high school. So we were, let's get back into that a little bit. What are some of the challenges that you see as you try to get this program in the schools and get the students ready for higher education?
Well, first of all, students need to realize we try to address them as early as possible.
And how early is that?
Well, we actually work with from 6th grade through 12th grade, but primarily 9th through 12th.
All right.
Okay, and so when we're talking to the 6th graders, we're trying to get their mind cultivated so that they know that when you get to high school, you need to begin right away. Don't waste time, begin right away. What happens with a lot of students, they get to 9th grade and they're kind of in between age. They're still kind of in the middle school and they're kind of in high school. And a lot of times they don't take it as seriously as they should. They think that I have 4 years to do what I need to do. But if you waste your first year, then you're already behind. You're already behind because there is a thing called cumulative grade point average, where they average out your grades for 4 years. So if you, in the first year, don't do very well because of whatever, you're distracted or whatever it is, and then the second year you're still not that serious, and then you say, okay, now I'm going into my junior year. I'm going to get serious. I know I didn't do as well as I could have done. Well, see, you missed 1 or 2 years, and you're only averaging it by 4. So we try and get them to realize you need to start now.
Right.
You need to at least start thinking about what it is that you want to do. We realize that you may not have a career already set in your mind that you want to do for the next however many years. We understand that, but at least begin to think about what it is that you want to do.
So we talk about prep. Prepping to me sounds like it really means having the students early on to have a mindset for something else after high school.
Exactly.
And that it is it's serious business, highly competitive, and they can't wait until the last minute. And I believe, Ralph, you had something else that you wanted to add on that relative to students being serious about readiness.
Well, absolutely, and I think Greg was doing a very excellent job of talking about the importance of getting young people in the right mindset at a very early age. But one of the things I just wanted to emphasize, Greg talked about us complimenting the counselors in the school. I really wanted to underscore that because one of the things that we try to do at the Urban League is establish partnerships. So we have great partnerships with the Milwaukee Public School System, with all schools, whether they're charter, whether they're choice. We have a great partnership with Wisconsin Lutheran College and some other schools of higher education. We really work to complement what others are doing because we want to maximize limited resources. None of us can meet the challenges in our community by ourselves, but if we work collectively together, we can have a significant impact. And that is one of the other things that we try to do at the Urban League on a daily basis.
That's very good input. So these partnerships, I mean, that's very important. I was not aware of the number of partnerships that you have.
Right. We have tremendous partnerships with a broad and a very diverse cross-section of this community. And again, our philosophy is we can't do it by ourselves. We have to work with others. And that increasingly is something that all of us in the nonprofit world are going to have to do because, as you know, there are very limited resources, and if we don't maximize our limited resources, we're not going to be successful. We're not going to get those positive community outcomes that we all want to see.
So other than the program being in some of these partnerships in schools, how do the students know about it? If they're not in that particular school, how do the community, is this information available? For instance, you were saying, Greg, there is a list that is provided of resources. What would a student who maybe not know about the program, just via the community, how would they find out about that?
Well, there are a number of ways. One of the ways that we get the word out about the Urban League and what it is that we do, we have recognition programs for students. One is called Doing the Right Thing. The other is called the National Achievers Society, or NAS. Doing the Right Thing recognizes students in 4 different areas: academics, athletics, extracurricular activity, and social leadership. We understand that every student is not going to have a 3.7 or 4-point GPA, but they're still contributing positively and they're making great strides toward excellence in their schools. And one of the things that we do with the Doing the Right Thing program in the academic area, sometimes the student has made a turnaround. Remember I told you sometimes students, they come in and they're not serious in their first year or their first semester.
Right.
We recognize students who make that turnaround in academics or in some other area because it's so important for them to get positive feedback. A lot of times students only hear something negative. So the Doing the Right Thing program is designed to encourage the students. You're making a good effort, you're heading in a positive direction, keep going. National Achievers Society focuses specifically on academics. There is a Believers section, which is 2.5 GPA to 2.9, and then there is the Achievers, 3 and above. And all of that is all of those students are recognized in the National Achievers Society. And we'll talk a little bit more about there is a real special incentive that we give to some of the very top seniors. But as Mr. Holman was saying, the relationships are so important because another way that we get students to know about the Urban League and what programs are there is through the contacts with the teachers and with the guidance counselors, because they are the ones, when we send information out to them, they are the ones who identify students who perhaps were not in one of the classes. Okay, one of the classes where we were doing a specific topic on scholarships or essays or whatever, but that counselor or that teacher, they know other students, and so they refer them to the program. That's how we make contact.
Doing the right thing sounds like not only a very strong program, but a very accommodating program. And I like the breadth of how students can participate in that. They're acknowledged for various things across. So I think that's very accommodating. So the National Achievers Society,
Right.
I believe we have someone with us today.
A fantastic individual.
Fantastic. Vanessa Armstrong, tell us right now again where you are, what you're doing, and then we want to loop back to how you became part of the program and some of the wonderful things that you're doing. Because I think, Vanessa, you are a shining example of everything that the League is trying to do through their educational programs.
Absolutely.
So let's start with Vanessa and talk a little bit about how you started, where you are now, or if you want to say where you are now and loop back, that's up to you.
Sure, I'll go over where I am now.
Okay.
I'm currently employed by the City of Milwaukee Police Department. I'm in the human resources field. I'm a human resources analyst. I've been there for going on 3 years. It'll be 3 years July. So that's where I'm currently employed. To give a background on how I got involved with the Milwaukee Urban League, I was connected with the Urban League via a family member. One of my aunts told me about some of the programs that were available and introduced me to Greg, who's joining us, the assistant director for training and education. Mm-hmm. So I was connected with Greg, and from there, it just, they provided me with a lot of resources. I will say that I didn't get involved with the Urban League until later in my high school career. It wasn't until my senior year. So like Greg was talking about having a plan, I didn't have the plan, but I was working on it. I had the basis and the foundation because education was always important for me. I was involved in different extracurriculars and, making sure that I have the academics, and that came first. So I was connected and I was matched with different scholarships that I applied for. One of the scholarships that I did apply for was the National Urban League Scholarship, which was a $10,000 scholarship. So that was in my senior year.
And you did receive that?
Yes, I did. It's unbelievable that I'm still thinking about it. What did I write? What made them award me of all the applicants for this national scholarship? So that was instrumental in my funding my education because I was responsible for taking care of my own education. So that was one of the scholarships that I was awarded. Applied for that, got that scholarship, and I applied for a lot of scholarships, and sometimes you don't get them, and that's one of the discouraging things. But you keep going, you keep applying for scholarships that you qualify for. So from there, I used that money to go to college. I went to the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I got my bachelor's in communication studies, which became a foundation for where I'm working now, and also a foundation for going on to complete my master's.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
So even though, Vanessa, you started in your senior year, back to what Greg has said, you were very prepared. You were doing all of the right things along the way, and that's why it was easy once you became part of the program that it was easy for you to move. I mean, to get the $10,000 scholarship, it's just huge. So prep. I would say is the message here, taking everything serious. What message would you want to give students in school? I mean, I applaud you. I was not aware that you started in the 6th grade, which is critical. We need
Absolutely.
to have that mindset with our youth early on. But where you sit, I mean, I think you're a great example to say, no, you know, I didn't have all the resources at home, and that happens to a lot of us, but I was able to use the resources through the Milwaukee Urban League that were there. So we've heard what Greg has said for students and the seriousness. Let me hear from you what you feel about that, and what message you would like to give to our students.
I would say that, one, academics is most important. When you're applying for college, when you're applying for any scholarships, they do look at you and they want you to be a well-rounded individual, but they look at your grade point average first. So if you're focusing on athletics, that's important, but you also have to have a backup plan and the books to back it up, and have that grade point average that would qualify you for scholarships, that will qualify you to getting into different colleges. So that's important, to focus on the academics and also start early. And I'm an example. I didn't start applying for colleges until my senior year, or looking at different scholarships, but you can start that well before your
Let me
senior
ask you
year.
why not? Because you've done so well, and you're very accomplished. And we're saying prep, start early. You did not. So what was the reason for that?
So I was prepping, I was so busy, and I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but I'll tell you, because I was looking back at what I was doing at that time. I was focusing on school. I was involved in sports most of the year. I was in National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, student government, and I'm doing all these things, and I'm trying to do well at those things. And you know, college, it was in the picture, but it was something that, you know, I was procrastinating. And I don't recommend that at all, because there are scholarships that you can apply for before your senior year. You don't have to wait to apply for college, and you take your ACT, your SAT, and you can go from there. So it was a matter of me being so busy and so consumed with all that's going on in high school that it didn't come until later, where I really had to buckle down.
Okay, but you were busy, doing the right thing. So all of these things that you were involved in, whether you consciously say, I'm doing this to prepare for college, was actually preparing you for
Precisely.
college.
Yes.
So it really wasn't time wasted. I think sounds like you waited until maybe your senior year to say, now I'm going to see where I want to go.
Yeah.
But Greg, did you have something to add to that?
One of the things, and we talked a lot about preparation, and a lot of students hear about preparation all the time. You got to get your grades. You have to do this. You have to do that. That's one P. I always talk about 3 Ps: purpose, preparation, and process.
Yes.
Purpose, preparation, and process. The reason why you have to have a strong purpose is because you're going to run into obstacles. That's a given. At some point, you're going to run into an obstacle. If you don't have a strong reason why you're doing what you're doing, you'll quit. You'll give up. You'll get sidetracked. You'll put it off. Okay, that's the first P. That's one of the starting points. Secondly, the preparation, which we talk about all the time, and thirdly, the process. She got started late in the process.
In the process.
And a lot of times, students don't know the process.
Right.
Because sometimes their parents never went through the process, or if they did, it was a long time ago. So we try and help students through the process of finding the scholarships, applying for the scholarships. There's going to be some rejection, but you need to apply for enough of them so that when you do get the monies, it can help pay for your tuition.
So say that those 3 Ps again.
Purpose, preparation, and process.
And as we listened to Vanessa, certainly you were in the preparation. You had a purpose, whether you consciously thought about that or not, and the
I believe
process was there.
Mary, I just wanted to ask Vanessa if she would say a word or two about some other involvement and assistance that she got from the Urban League as she kind of finished part of her college education.
Let's hear it, Vanessa.
Sure. So my relationship with the Urban League, Milwaukee Urban League, has been, lasting over 10 years now. So when I started, when they gave me information on scholarships to go to college, and it didn't end there, they gave me ongoing information on scholarships throughout my college career. They were always a resource that I could come back to, that I could rely upon. And in college, I was granted the opportunity to work as an intern for the Milwaukee Urban League. And as Mr. Holman was saying earlier regarding people not knowing what it is, when I was in high school, I knew that this was an organization that was helping me with my education, but I didn't know what else they did. So when I was an intern, I saw it every day how much empowerment they are they're encouraging with the community. I saw people coming in, to get their GED, for computer classes, for help with starting businesses, resume help, apprenticeship. It was just ongoing. So I just wanted to keep coming back with the Urban League. I continue to volunteer for their different events. So their back to school fairs, I'm always volunteering for those. Also attending the programs that they have for the National Achiever Society and the Doing the Right Thing programs, because that's important to have other people, even though you don't know them, that are there to recognize students.
Great. So Vanessa is a great example of not only doing the right things, but giving back to the community. We are going to take a break now, but we'll be back and we'll continue with what's going on.
114th Infantry Company, Iraq.
The memories are all blurred.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
The words, they're hard to find.
I came back a different person.
I wonder if she's better off without me.
You just feel alone.
You gave all to the cause of freedom. Now it's our turn to give our all to you. It's free and totally confidential. Reach us at operationnotforgotten.com. We are here.
In order to beat breast cancer, I knew I would have to lose my breasts. But to reclaim my life, I chose breast reconstruction.
Each year, nearly 150,000 women will learn they will undergo a mastectomy due to breast cancer. But 7 out of 10 women are never told about their breast reconstruction options. Breast reconstruction is a very important part of the healing process, both physically and emotionally. Download my song Flower to share the message and help us share the fact that women can feel whole again.
Hello, I'm Mary Dowell, your host today for What's Going On, and we have the Milwaukee Urban League. And say hello again, Ralph.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Ralph Holman. I'm the president and CEO of the Milwaukee Urban League.
Hi, Vanessa Armstrong, former participant in Urban League programs.
Gregory Fanning, Assistant Director, Education and Training.
Thank you. Prior to the break, we were really involved in talking with Vanessa about some of her experiences with the programs and her successes, certainly with the programs. So we wanted to get back into that in a few minutes. But could we have the contact information for the Milwaukee Urban League if someone wanted to get in touch and learn more one-on-one about the programs and what you
absolutely. I'd be more than happy to give that information. The Milwaukee Urban League is located at 435 West North Avenue in the heart of Bronzeville. That is the area that the city of Milwaukee has designated as the African American Cultural and Entertainment District. Our phone number is area code 414-374-5850. That's 374-5850. And our website is www.tmul.org. www.tmul.org.
Thank you, Ralph. So for anyone who wants to get in touch, there's all the information there. So before the break, Vanessa, you were talking about your prep, the seriousness of what you do. Let's get back into that.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to say is that the Urban League has always been a resource, and they still remain a resource to this day. So once I finished my education, once I moved back to Milwaukee, I reached out to them when I was searching for employment, and they helped me find my first job back in Milwaukee. So it's always nice to know that wherever you are in your life, that the Urban League can help you with whatever you're looking to accomplish.
So they got you the scholarship, they got you in school, you came back, and they helped to get a job for you.
Yes, they did.
That's wonderful, and that speaks volume to the work of the league and what they do. And I'm just not sure that everyone knows to that depth and breadth of providing that support. So, Greg, was there other information that you wanted to talk to us about relative to the programs, any of the other programs. We know Doing the Right Thing, the college education prep program. Was there anything else on that?
Well, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the director of the program, Ms. Shirley Sharp.
And I know Shirley
she
well.
is one of the most diligent, hardworking people you'll ever find.
She really is.
And we've had other assistants in the program. Ms. Yola Noel, she went back to further her to pursue her master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things I would like to say is that in an effort to prepare students, one of the things that we do is try to have them go on college tours. And the reason for that is I'm a strong believer that students really need to visit a college campus and not just go by a brochure or a college game that they see on television. They need to go and visit the campus, because oftentimes you will get a feel for if it's comfortable for you.
Are there programs, or if there's, other than just the parents and the child going to a college, is there anything else that would be offered for a tour, if you will, through the league? Do they?
Well, one of the things we talked about partnerships from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And one of the partners is Team Gear Up. They're in MPS schools also. And so between MPS, Team Gear Up, they help to sponsor some of the college tours that we take the students on. And in addition to that, we also encourage parents to take their child on these tours, because a lot of times a child will decide that they want to go to a particular school for some reason that has nothing to do with even what they want to pursue in terms of a career. So if they visit the campus and have the campus arranged, they will take you on a tour. They will arrange for you. People in admissions at these colleges will arrange for you to visit. And they will take you around, and you can see the campus, and you can see the classrooms, and you can get a feel for what it is that you like, because some students are more comfortable in a large university setting. Some students are more comfortable in a smaller classroom type of a college. So you have to know yourself, your own personality. One is not better than the other, but you have to know what will work for you, because if the student arrives at a college, spends the money that they have, and then they're not happy or they're uncomfortable, that impacts the learning experience. Exactly. That impacts the whole college experience altogether. I tell all the students, colleges are businesses. You spend your money, they give you college credit if you pass the course. So you want to go where you're comfortable. You want to go to a school that has a good record of placement, job placement after you graduate, because ultimately that's what you want. You want to pursue your career once you graduate, and you have to know these types of things before you get into the college, because a lot of times some students will go to a college and their grades are not even transferable if they decide that they want to leave and go to a different university. These are questions that you have to ask as part of your due diligence. Are these credits transferable? If I decide to leave. Now, you may get there and you may find a perfect match between yourself and the college, but sometimes the reality is sometimes students will stop for one reason or another, and then they want to go back and they decide they want to go back to a different school. You have to know that your credits are transferable.
So I would like to ask Vanessa, could you tell us a little bit about your experience and the college that you ended up going to based on some of the things that Greg just said? How did you select that?
Sure. It was not as involved as the process would I recommend, and I can say that from experience, that I did not go on a college tour. So the reason that I looked at lacrosse was because I was in track in high school, and I made it to state my junior year, and track is held in lacrosse, in the city of La Crosse at the university. And I went there and I thought, oh, this is such a great place, you know. course, you get the brochures, but I didn't have that experience, and I do recommend that. You know, taking a look, walking around the campus, you know, how the people look, how do the classrooms look, the residence dorms, what type of activities do they have for you. So I do recommend that, but from my experience, I based it on something so small, and when I decided to go there. And then so I applied there and I got in. I applied to other schools too, but I've been to La Crosse. I liked the feeling that I got when I was there, and it was because of that experience. And I recommend having the more involved when you're taking a look at what the campus has to offer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Ralph?
Mary, I just wanted to add to something that Greg was talking about, the college tours, the college visits. That is one of the reasons that we like to have our National Achievers Society ceremony on a college campus. It is held at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And I recall when we started doing this several years ago, we had packed audience. I just asked by a show of hands how many people had been on a college campus before. And I was taken back that very, very few hands went up. And so I knew that in the future, to help with that exposure that Greg was talking about, we really needed to have our ceremony on a college campus so people could get a feel for what a college campus was like, and they would have the understanding that college is accessible to them. Mm-hmm. The other thing I wanted to say about our ceremonies is we have parents and friends that attend. And you asked earlier, how do people know about our programs? Well, when we have our ceremonies, you know, several hundred young people get honored and recognized. And we like to have it like a graduation ceremony. And we tell our young people, no matter what happens to you in the future, don't let this be the last time that you're honored, that you're recognized for doing something positive. But the important thing is that the parents and the friends get very excited, and they go back and tell other relatives and other friends in the community about the programs. And we get a tremendous number of referrals, just through that process. The last thing I just wanted to say is that each ceremony, we like to have keynote speakers. We like to have role models from our community because it's so important for the young people to see other folks who look like them, who have achieved things, who are doing positive things. So at our National Achiever Society ceremony, which is coming up on May 12th, we're just very, very happy that we're going to have Mr. Grady Cosby, who is your Vice President of Public Affairs and Chief Diversity Officer at Johnson Controls, as our keynote speaker. Yeah. And he's going to be an excellent role model.
I agree. And that brings me to the question of partnerships. Of course, Johnson Controls has been a longtime supporter of the Milwaukee Urban League. And as I said, my own personal time as a director there, and I know we've supported your programs through our foundation. So what would you like to say about getting the word out so that other organizations can provide that support as well? Because it takes a village.
There's no question. But first, let me just say that we could not do our important community service work without great support, from the corporate community. And as you said before, Johnson Controls has been one of our long-term, corporate friends and supporters. Beginning with you, Mary, when you were on the Urban League board, when you were our board chair, and through the foundation, helping us get grants, supporting our fundraisers, with Chuck Harvey, and now with Mr. Cosby, you've just been a tremendous supporter. And if we did not have that kind of support, it would be, again, very difficult, if not impossible, for us to do our community service work. So one of the things that we want to emphasize as we go forward, not only are we doing great things in the community, as Vanessa has attested to, we need corporate and community support because it takes money to implement a program, to even heat, light, and maintain a facility. So corporate support is just so very, very important. And I would like for other companies and corporations in our community to follow the example that Johnson Controls has set, because you have been a tremendous friend.
Thank you. And it's all about sustainability. And so we have these wonderful programs, and they've been around for quite some time. So if we're to sustain that, we do need the support from our organizations and our community at large.
Absolutely. And last thing I'll say on that point, I think we do a lot with the limited resources that we have at the Urban League, and the people that we touch, the people that we help. We have a tremendously positive impact on their lives. I think the unfortunate thing is when you have limited resources, there are only a limited number of people that you can reach and touch. So going forward, if we have more corporate and community support, that means that we can touch and reach more people and have an even greater impact on the quality of life in our community.
Right, and so you earlier said the league has been around here, the Milwaukee Urban, 96 years. Yes.
In May.
So in May would be 96 years.
May
So
will be
that says to me somewhere along the line we have gotten some support that we need to sustain that, but that we still need more. And that's the sustainability part. And so we encourage others to now be aware and come on board to help sustain, because it's about our community. Today we're focusing on our youth and education, but it takes all of us to make this work and to continue. And Greg, you wanted to add?
Well, I wanted to know if Mr. Holman wanted to mention about the incentives that we have at the NAS program.
All right.
Yes, I did, and I neglected to mention that. Several years ago, we started to give our outstanding college-bound seniors laptop computers. And I'm also pleased to say that through some very generous grants that we received from Johnson Controls, we this year are going to be able to give 20 of our outstanding seniors laptop computers. And that's so important because we're in a technological age,
right.
And in addition to the scholarships and the financial aid that Greg and the staff, help the students get, we have found that these laptop computers are just invaluable in terms of these young people, going off to college and being able to do the homework, being able to do their schoolwork, and to communicate on the internet. So, Greg, thank you so very much. That is a very significant part of our National Achievers Society ceremony.
Right. I can't imagine students that those computers are just key and critical. I can't imagine them doing their work really well without having the computers.
And they're not scaled down. They are fully loaded, ready for the student to go to work and get that homework in and get those papers done. It's ready, it's loaded. All they have to do is let their fingers do the
walking. I understand. So Vanessa, you obviously, that was part of what you received in addition to the $10,000. So that.
Well, I did inform Mr. Holman that I was not a recipient of a laptop. That happened after I graduated.
But the program has evolved and grown and enhanced.
Yeah.
So, but you did well, even though you didn't have the computer from the Milwaukee Urban League. Okay. Is there anything else, Vanessa, that you'd like to say? Or I'm about encouraging other students because to me, you are a beacon. You're, and I said it before, you're just a perfect example of all the things that the league have put into these programs. And to me, it's so outstanding that you would come back and give back to the community, which is key and critical. Plus, you're in a non-traditional role for women, the police department. I think that is outstanding. So, I think it's important to have a dream. Was that something that you wanted to do, that you thought about? Was it HR and you ended up in the police department, or was it you wanted to go into law enforcement, and how did that work?
Well, I'm not a police officer. I work in human resources, so that is something that I wanted to pursue. When I went to grad school, I got my master's in labor relations and human resources, so I know I wanted to focus specifically in that field. So I came back to Milwaukee and I started working in that field here. But one thing that I would say is that for anyone who's watching, if you know anyone who would qualify for any of the programs, the educational programs offered, either Doing the Right Thing or National Achiever Society, you can fill out a nomination form for NAS that can be submitted to Urban League, and Greg can provide the contact information again for Urban League.
Great. So, this about ends our program for today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate and have enjoyed learning so much about the Milwaukee Urban League. And as I said, it's a beacon in this community. And I hope today's program will provide individuals information about all of the things that you provide. So I want to thank you, Ralph.
No, Mary, thank you. Thank you so very much for having us today.
My pleasure. Vanessa, continue the wonderful work. Greg.
Thank you.
Continue.
And that website again is www.t-as-in-tom-mul.org.
Thank you so much. This ends today's segment for What's Going On, featuring the Milwaukee Urban League. So until next time, have a great day.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? In the meantime, right on, baby. Right
This has been an MCM Productions program.